Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
You know, we get to do a lot of fun things, guys, and one of these is drink some wine.
This is one of the most fun segments we do.
It's so
It
cool.
is.
I mean, we get a drink and we get to drink wine, and we don't even know what we're talking about because we've never been big wine drinkers.
we didn't have to buy the wine.
Yeah, and
Ding dong.
the experts just get to laugh at us.
Well, it's exciting to introduce our new wine expert to the podcast, Duff Bevill. He is the founder and partner of Bevill Vineyard Management. So welcome to the show.
No, I'm glad to be here. Glad to have the opportunity to talk with you guys.
I know it's going to take Corey a while to get these bottles opened. So let's first start talking about the wine that Corey has in front so he can mess around, and then we'll get into your story.
Well, we have two bottles here. Which is there one I should open first?
No, either one, whatever you want. I got a little bit of story to share with you on both of them.
Okay,
So
Well,
what
I'm gonna
I can do that if you like.
I'm going to do the Lambert Bridge.
Oh, okay, all right.
And I got this new wine opener, so everyone can. It came off the TikTok shop, so everyone can. It's like a basketball pump. Have you seen one of these?
Never have.
It like puts a needle down. We'll see if it works.
Hold on. If the wine guy has not seen a bottle opener like this,
It pushes air into the bottle
It pops.
Yep.
the
All right.
cork.
and it pushes the cork out.
yeah, this is not going to work.
What
Wait.
on TikTok?
Oh!
Whoa!
Wow.
It worked well.
Duff, you need one.
I guess so.
All right,
No,
tell us about the wine.
I'm still traditional. Well, we'll tell quick about me. I
Yeah.
came to Sonoma County in 1973, so it'll be 52 plus years. Well, it'll be 52 years in March of 2025. So been here a long time. I moved here to work for a guy who was there was a great wine grape boom going on in California in the early 1970s, and I was part of that. And 5 years later, I started my own company and have had it ever since. So and the interesting part of this whole circle of life is the guy who I came here to work for. His son, his only son, is a partner of mine now, and so
Oh, wow.
kind of, it's sort of a handoff process now from the guy who got me involved full time in agriculture. His son has been my partner for quite a few years, and he's taken over the company for us. So we farm about 1,500 acres of wine grapes in Sonoma County. We have 150 employees, something like that, and
Holy smokes.
and the reason I sent you those two wines, I always look for some kind of little story that might add a little interest to it. In Sonoma County, and I'll make this brief, Sonoma County is a recognized wine grape appellation. And within Sonoma County, I think it's 18. I think there's 18 appellations now. I should have checked that. I kind of lost track at 13. And we manage vineyards throughout Sonoma County. But we also, my wife and I also own some vineyards too. And the two wines you're sampling there are from two vineyards that we own. One is in the one is in the Russian River Valley, and the other is Dry Creek Valley. And
Dry
both
Creek
of them-
Valley. That's this one.
That's what, and the other is a Russian River Valley, and both of them are Sauvignon Blanc, and that Sauvignon Blanc is the same clone of Sauvignon Blanc. There's multiple clones. This is getting pretty nerdy here, but there's multiple clones of every variety. Sauvignon Blanc has its share of different clones, but they're all Sauvignon Blanc. So these two are the same clone of Sauvignon Blanc, and the vineyards are roughly the same age of the. I never have to think about this kind of stuff. The Sauvignon Blanc from the Russian River, that Nori, we planted that in 1999, so it's 25 years old. And then the Keegan property, which is the other one, the Dry Creek Valley, that one's almost 30 years old. And so what's fun about this, I would hope, is you get to see same variety Sauvignon Blanc, two different appellations. And the vineyards are about 15 miles apart. The Russian River Valley is a much cooler region than the Dry Creek Valley, and two different winemakers. So the winemaking style Sauvignon Blanc, and I think you guys had a Sauvignon Blanc here a few weeks ago, right? With a friend of ours from Sonoma County, Tyler.
Yep. We drank it in the wrong order.
And he actually had some good descriptors. So Sauvignon Blanc, common denominator Sauvignon Blanc is citrus flavors, a fresh cut grass. It's been described as smelling like fresh cut like alfalfa. And the two styles that are typically made of Sauvignon Blanc is they pick them a little less ripe, still ripe, but a little less ripe, and that emphasizes brighter acidities, a little more citrus qualities. Like have you ever taken any kind of a citrus and rub the skin? You're just rubbing it.
Yep.
And what you're doing is releasing all those aromas from the oils. And so you do that to a lemon, it smells like a lemon. You do that to an orange, smells like an orange. And if you do the grapefruit, it smells like grapefruit. Sauvignon Blancs, when they're freshly fermented, smells like you stuck your head in a big bucket of grapefruit rinds. Not the bitterness, but that fresh, grapefruity. That's what Sauvignon Blanc does when it's very early in the fermentation, finishing the fermentation process. The other style of Sauvignon Blanc, they pick it a little bit riper, and so it stays on the vine, usually 10 days to maybe 14 days longer than that other style. So it gets a little bit riper, and it starts moving from those citrus qualities that are, I just described. That becomes more reduced, and it becomes starting to have more tropical fruits. So mango, I don't know how much you guys get mango back in your supermarkets back there.
Yeah, right.
I've heard descriptions like lychee nuts. I don't even know what a lychee nut tastes like, but a lychee nut is one of those descriptors. But usually just riper fruit flavors. And those styles, they tend to ferment them and keep them a little bit longer, or keep them in oak barrels. And so it adds more complexity. So the more ripe, they want to have more complexity. Less ripe, different kind of complexity. So both of those wines are made in a similar style. They're both about 13, almost 14% alcohol, or I think on one of them it probably says 14% alcohol, and the other one's I think 13.9 or something. So
13.9, yep.
Both made in the same style, same philosophy, but the vineyards are 15 miles apart. So they're going to be different. And I'm hoping you guys can see the difference between the two.
Well, and that's wild, right? 15 miles doesn't sound like that much.
Not around here.
As far as a mileage and difference between locations.
It'd be like the corn at Dave's farm versus the corn at my farm.
It would be.
You guys in the Midwest, you guys in the Midwest can probably see 15 miles in any direction. Over here,
probably we can in some places.
Yeah. So over here, you're lucky to see more than about a mile in any direction over here. So
in your operation, you said there's 1,500 acres under your management. How far apart from one end to the other are you?
Well, let's see. On the north end of Sonoma County is a little town called Cloverdale, and we're up close to that town. Sonoma County is 1 million a million acres.
Yep.
And it takes you probably takes you 45 minutes to drive from the northern end on Highway 101 to the southern end, assuming no traffic. So we've got vineyards that, we break our operations up into 4 districts. So we have four managers. And just because of the amount of acreage or amount of distance you'd have to cover to get them, even they're pretty small vineyards. They range from 6 acres to 75 acres in size, but they're scattered all over the county. And Russian River flows right through it. And there's only a half dozen bridges on the Russian River. So if you're farming, you have 2 vineyards across the river from each other. It might take you 45 minutes to get to each one of them because you got to drive around and find a bridge to go over the river. So we break it up into districts. Most of the guys in the vineyard management business here, that's how you operate. You break it up into regions, assign supervisors to those areas, and they have their own equipment operators and their own foremen, their own personnel. So there you go.
Dave, what did you think of the first wine?
I think it's very good.
It's easy drinker.
It is. I went wine tasting on my honeymoon, and I thought everything was so dry.
Was that just last year?
No, 22 years ago, and I've not been a wine drinker since we went out to California and tasted good wine. I've actually been drinking more and more wine, and this is very good.
Glad to hear that.
Initial thing I noticed is the corks are different. Does that have anything to do with it?
Do each of them have? I don't even know about this.
The Lambert Bridge has what I would call a more natural cork,
traditional,
and then this
darker
one is
brown cork.
This one I would say is not fake, but man-made or.
Well, do you see a little cap, like a segment on top of that cork on either end of it, or does it look like one solid piece?
It looks like one solid piece. It looks like tofu.
Looks like tofu.
Huh.
Whiter. light colored.
Maybe it is more natural. It's just a different.
So a
Well,
lighter
there's
blue.
They're definitely different, though.
Is there anything to the shape of the bottle there, Duff? This one is a traditional look of a wine bottle. This one's got a wider, fatter brim on the bottle at the bottom.
They're different styles, and again, that's part of the marketing. The Lambert Bridge is in what's called a Bordeaux style.
Okay.
Because Sauvignon Blanc, Bordeaux, it's original region, and then the other one you're pouring right now is a Burgundian or Burgundy style bottle, and then you get into colors, and there's smoke, and there's green, and there's all sorts of different shades. So
Well, it smells different.
does it?
Do your finger test, Dave.
I did on this one. So I had a guy tell me once that the deeper the hole on the bottom of the bottle, the better the wine is. But I think he was just screwing with me.
What the purpose of that is, it's really for mostly for red wines, is my belief, my understanding. And so when they're lying on their side, aging for years and years and years, they start dropping sediment out. And so when you get ready to drink that bottle of wine and you turn it up right, you want the sediment to fall down into the edges. So when you're pouring the wine, it's not getting in your glass. So that's sort of part of that story on that. It's called, I think,
Dave, when you make your millions and you start your own vineyard and your own wine company, I do want you to make a bottle, though, that your whole finger can go up into. It's just completely just.
And he's only
It's
doing
gone.
it because it's less volume.
Yeah.
You sell it for the same price. It's just less volume. This is good, and I do taste a difference. I felt like I had a orange citrusy in the first one.
Yeah.
And this one, more mellow, maybe is the right word.
Could be. Now it's interesting. The Lambert Bridge is 100% Sauvignon Blanc, grape, but the Nori is. And I just reading. I had the owner Nori send me some footnotes on tasting notes, and I didn't realize he blends that with 3% of a variety called Gewürztraminer, and that's a Alsatian or a German Austrian grape variety, goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. And that just gives it a little bit different, like I think, fruity quality to it. So that there's an influence of that in there too. And I can't tell you exactly what it is.
What are you getting out of it?
What you said about easier, it is. It's just like, this is a wine that get me in trouble.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
It just it goes down.
It's fruitier to me.
Fruitier?
It's fruitier to me, for
so
sure.
not a citrusy. I'm not gonna say sour is the wrong word. Not a citrusy, but more of a fruitier.
It's fruitier, yeah, and it's not dry at all. Very, very good, and it is different though. Between the 15
which one's
miles,
your favorite?
15
I like this one better.
You
I
do
like
the Nori.
Yeah, I like the Nori better.
If we were talking bourbons, I would call it smoother.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I call it smoother.
Right?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
this one was an easy drinker, though, too. It just had a little bit more sharpness.
There you go, sharpness.
And that's the acidity, and that's a winemaker style. They'll choose to make them in one particular style or the other, and they have certain emphasis and the balance. And both of them are, the reputation of Sauvignon Blanc is this really good with seafoods. That's like the go-to. You want to have a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Zinfandel. They say, just steaks, hamburger, even.
Right.
But Sauvignon Blancs, it's always like it's great with fish. I mean, the truth is, all of us guys in the business, we drink it whenever we want to drink, with whatever we want to
We
drink.
drink it whenever we want to drink it.
We don't care.
I was going to ask you.
The comment you're making, you made a comment earlier that you had some bad experience with wines before you came back to California, gave it a try.
Yes.
With some better quality. A lot of people confuse, like both of those are bone dry. There's no residual sugar at all in those wines. So all that sweetness you're sensing is actually, and that's a goal of a winemaker. That's the fruit that's coming through. That's the quality of the fruit coming through, and that's a plus. I mean, that's a compliment to the grower and the winemaker. When you're sensing that sweetness to it, that's fruit that you're picking up there, not sugar, which is a compliment to
Very good.
producers.
I would buy either of these.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have a favorite grape, or is that like
I like
picking out a
Sauvignon
favorite
Blanc.
kid?
No, I like Sauvignon Blanc. I've spending all my adult professional life in Dry Creek Valley. Dry Creek Valley's history is Zinfandel. It goes back to the late 1860s, like 66, 67, 1867. So Zinfandel's been in this valley forever, and I was lucky enough to come here when a lot of the old children of Italian immigrants were in their 70s and 80s when I met them. and they were all, ancestors of that red grape that their immigrant parents planted and grew. They didn't bring it from Italy with them, but they planted that grape before Prohibition.
It's like a nice book.
After Prohibition. And so my favorite red grape still is Zinfandel. There's others, but still Zinfandel. And I love Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc does really well in Dry Creek Valley, and it's made me money, so I like it for that side of it too, But my favorite white grape Sauvignon Blanc, and favorite red, it's got to be Zinfandel still. So.
Now, Duff, I got to ask you. I don't know that I've ever met anybody named Duff. How'd you get the name? How'd your parents name you a Duff?
Well, the real name is Duffern, Duffern, and my middle name is Paul. But I've always got my family members and ex-girlfriends call me Duffy.
Duffy.
Yes.
And all I was known as Duffy until I was about 15 or 16 years old and in high school. So I started to shorten it up there. But my mom she graduated from UCLA in Southern California in 1938. Her first teaching job was a first grade in LA, and one of her students, his name was Duffern, and he went by Dub, D-U-B, because he hated his name. And she wrote that down and saved it for me. My older brother got a very traditional, my mother's maiden name, Spencer James, after my great grandfather, that kind of stuff. And she saved my name for me. So she held that for 12 years before I came around.
Oh, wow. Very good.
So I'm the one who got it. So
that's cool.
But yeah, I've only met one other since then who went by Duff, and it was a nickname, which is mine, kind of a variation of the real name. But I've never met anybody who's had that name. So it's a very old school European, I think.
That's neat. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk through this and tell a little bit about your story and help us expand our wine experience as it needs to grow.
I'm glad to like wines, and hope you can come to California and see us sometime.
I think we would love to do that. If our listeners want to buy wine from you guys or want to buy or have access to the products, can they get it?
Yeah, the Lambert Bridge is a pretty small production, and I think it's only for their tasting room and their wine club.
Okay.
And Nori's the same thing. He's a one-horse operation. He's actually a Japanese immigrant. He came here to work in the wine industry many years ago, started his own winery after he got a lot of experience. And so he sells most of his wine back in, I think most of it goes to Tokyo, I think. So it's a small production too, but it's available. I mean, you can get that his facilities here in Northern California. So if you go online with either one of them, you can figure out how to get your hands on those wines.
On the back, this says lambertbridge.com.
Awesome.
So for this one, I think you could just probably put that in on your URL browser.
Corey's got to pull the other one out of his
Noria
ice bucket.
Yeah, Noria Wines, Noria wines.com.
Perfect.
Great.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Duff, and hopefully, yes, we do get to come out and shake your hand in person.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.